facts from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on August 17, 2021, and Warren Buffett, Michael Burry, and a few other 13Fs drop. They have been buying stocks, and I got 3 stocks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow, but today was a very wild day. It started off very, very weak. You had a lot of tension from Asia Pacific down to Europe, and then United States came in at the European close. We led the way, but if you were watching the news, you saw a lot of what was going on with Afghanistan. That had a lot of issues, but then throughout the day, we probably had over 100 different hedge funds file their 13Fs. We're getting to see who is taking a stake, who's selling out some stuff. We got to see some big moves out of some of the big dogs like Buffett and Burry, but there was a lot of changes underneath the surface. We're going to go over a couple of those, but you're starting to see the effect now here in the market. So today was crazy. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to go over what happened in the market, what we're looking at tomorrow. We got a couple of events, the plays that we made, and then the plays that we have for the rest of the week. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes for open. It's the first link in the description, and it's pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch us come to life, and yes, if you understand that being on the left means something completely different in the Middle East, then yeah, we're the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything. Post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So, right off the bat, today started off very slow across the board. And the reason was you got weak China data, and that was pretty much signaling that their recovery is slowing down. We've been talking about this, but now the data is really, really showing it. And that's what got people worried there in the morning. You got more corona concerns, and that was dominating the headlines. But then the whole Afghanistan situation, that kept escalating. We got to hear from Biden after hours. We will see how that plays into tomorrow. But even if you saw the S&P 500, by the time the European markets closed, we kind of did our thing. So this is a prime example of kind of the rest of the world doing their thing. Again, even in Europe, they finally had their first down day this morning, and they were on a 10-day streak from record highs. It was like a 15-year record or something like that. But you saw a weak performance overseas, but sure enough, when it was our time to run the race, we did very, very well, or we kind of brushed off a lot of those concerns. So even now, coming into August, it has still been one of the calmest months on record. So even though a lot of people were expecting volatility with August, the tapering, all of that stuff, we still have not moved too much. Today was probably one of the more bigger days, but nothing over 0.33%. Nonetheless, though, you can kind of see it here with the first pretty picture. We are almost done with August. We got about 2 weeks left here, but where we go from September, you still have a lot of people anticipating that, and you can see that right here with the dollars. That's what this is showing here. It is the price of the dollar versus the amount of contracts that are pretty much bullish, so you have a lot of people betting on the dollar to strengthen here, so that kind of gives us that time frame coming into September, because that is when you're going to get everything from potential taper talks all the way down to the specific details of everything from the tax bill to even finding out if Jerome Powell is going to be our chair or not. So there was a lot that happened today, but most of it was kind of a little bit of shock from the news and everything going on in the weekend and what's happening overseas. It was enough to add some concerns, but not really change the story too much, and that is what we're waiting for moving forward. We still need to see what is going to come out of Jerome Powell and the Fed, as well as the economic data. So coming into tomorrow, you're going to get Jerome Powell. He's having that town hall meeting. Then you're going to get the minutes on Wednesday. And then tomorrow, you're also getting industrial production as well as retail numbers. So depending on how that plays out, we will see what's going to happen. And then you're also going to get more SC13. They came in a lot today. It could add a little bit of a boost to the market, but what you really saw even happen today, there was a lot of this action underneath the surface as the market digests this and they start getting an idea of how people are positioned positioning. So we will go over some of them, but you will notice a big trend from what the hedge funds have done. They weren't really buying too many new companies as much as they were either trimming the ones that they had or adding to positions that they like. So kind of reminds me of the long term, baby. So coming into the company news and events now, the first one is Young Buffett. He added, Young Buffett, shout out Wall Street stocks, baby. But he added OGN. That was the only new stake that he took. He increased his stake in Kroger, and then he trimmed General Motors as well as a bunch of bio shares, AbbVie, MRK, and a couple. And then he fully cut out of Biogen, which was very interesting. Then to Appaloosa and David Tepper, the biggest highlight I saw, and I'm even tying this here into the plays, he grabbed a new stake of $100 million worth of Uber. So this is their first time getting into it. I think that has some big implications. Uber got a nice haircut here over the last few months. I think it's a good price there, so we'll see how that plays out. Third Point added SentinelOne, SoFi, and Peloton, and then they exited IAA. And again, I'm going over some of the bigger ones here. There was a lot today. We will go over them on stream tomorrow, or if you have any questions, I could always show you guys how to pull them up. We went over it a little bit. You could see it through the SEC filings. You would be amazed what you could do with Google and a couple of keywords. As long as you know the firm or the investor that you're looking for, it does get a little bit convoluted, but you can easily find it. None of that is sarcasm. So hopefully you guys experiment with that. But like I said, third Point adding SentinelOne, SoFi, and Peloton exited IAA. Then Michael Burry, he added to his Tesla and TLT puts. He got like $50 million, I believe. I'll have to double check, or you can verify it, but I'm pretty sure it was that amount in Walmart calls. And then he also bet against Cathie Wood and ARK. So a lot of people were talking about this. He grabbed some puts on the ARK fund. So we will see what happens with that. Now coming into some more news, we did get China data this morning. It wasn't good. And they even did more crackdowns on some of the online gaming companies. So that is still in effect. You just haven't been hearing it a lot lately, or as much as we did a few weeks ago. But now after hours in a video, SEC Gensler warned of Chinese companies, or saying that investors should be warned a little bit more and be careful, and he's saying that we should be able to see their book. And this was part of the law that got passed in December, where it says in the next 3 years, whether it's a Cayman Island shell company or a China company, it must be open for U.S. auditors to look at their audits that they have. So he kind of doubled down. It's like the first time we've really heard that in a while there. It was very, very specific. So we will see how that plays out coming into tomorrow. Then after hours, you got to hear from Biden. He says that he stands squarely behind the Afghan withdrawal. He did admit that they were wrong on how soon it would take for that overthrow to happen, and they said that was definitely an error and they didn't see that one coming. But it looks like America's sticking to the same policy. We're not going to see anything flip-flop. You did have an interesting note, and it's coming out of China. They're actually, about a few weeks ago, they're building out their embassy there, and they're actually not leaving, and they never really had a presence going far back to even 1996. They weren't really there, so it's a changing global landscape. Surprisingly, China is going to fall into this situation, so we'll see. We do need to watch the reaction tomorrow. There was comments from some reporters saying how this speech was coldly indifferent to some of the human suffering and what's going on there, so we will see how it plays out and what it kind of turns into. It's not really going to have an economic impact or a market impact. We've talked about that, but it's just kind of now one more of these things that you're going to see thrown out there. Depending on what happens, it'll probably catch headlines from time to time, but we will see how it plays out. So there was that, and then this one slipped in today, but Fed Rosengren spoke, and he said that he could back a September taper announcement. So coming off a little bit hawkish, but surprisingly, market kind of ignored that all day today. So that was interesting. Coming to one of our favorite company here is Roblox. They fall after their quarterly bookings missed analyst estimates. It was still a nice growth, and they're even factoring or guiding in to one of their best quarters that they said, but they still missed expectations. The stock dropped and popped a little bit. Probably going to move around a lot tomorrow, so we will see how that one plays out. And then another one this morning, it affected the stock, Tesla. They're facing a safety probe over their autopilot, so we'll see what they get into, but it's been a while since you've had any sort of probe or issue like that with Tesla, so this stock did respond negatively today. I really want to see how this plays out over the next few weeks. Then coming into the rap industry and investing, baby, Hove, Jay-Z, is getting into sports betting. He took a private round in Fanatics Inc. They're not publicly traded. He'd been doing his private equity thing, but he put a stake in one of their rounds for funding, highlighting them getting into sports gambling and sports betting, as it is about about to be legalized in New York. And then finally, I got one more pretty picture for you. The stock market is in a bubble. Well, maybe not. That's what people are talking about today. And what the realization was that 2020 was actually one of the biggest bargains that people would have thought. And here's the logic from it. If you remember when people were buying the dip in April, August, October, based on those prices and then the future prices that it was implying, essentially after we've seen all these reports and a lot of these companies bounce back in profit, what some people are realizing was that it was actually the reverse of a bubble, and what seemed like a wildly high valuation in 2020 or even in the middle of it, now that we've got the earnings report and a lot of these companies have beat, you could see where the forward earnings is. It's slightly above 20, below 25, but even from 2020 or 2019, it's only marginally higher considering everything that's happened. So a lot of people are going bubble back and forth with this. There's a lot of stuff going on, but don't underestimate what these last earnings have showed us. When you're looking at the corporate profit, the numbers that look crazy a year ago were pretty much not that crazy. So let's see what's about to happen next, okay? But all of our work is going to be cut out for us. It's going to be economical. It's going to be global, and there's a lot of things going on. But the real key we need to watch for is velocity, because if you don't see it this month, September is shaping up for an even crazier month. So I hope you're ready. But that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different stocks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow. I did make 2 different plays today, but all I did was trim. The first one, I closed out of that RL credit spread. I only got like 20%, but it was like $100 profit, and that's because we're gonna get the retail sales and a couple of more of the earnings here this week. It did not look good in China, so I was even down on this play earlier, able to take profit. It had a high collateral, so I closed out of that credit spread, and then I closed out of Walmart. I'm still going to watch it tomorrow, but they have earnings. We made these free already. I trimmed 3 more of them at 87 cents. They're still up 100%, so kind of a sweet spot coming into earnings, because that premium is either going to die, or if it does hold up, we will see what happens. But those were the only other plays that I made today. I didn't add anything, but now coming into tomorrow, I want to watch Uber. There was big stakes taken, Appaloosa and David Tepper. I really like that one just because it was a new addition to the stock, but then a lot of the SC13s, I was reading over them, Uber showed up a lot. If people didn't add a new stake, they did add to it in general, so we will see how that plays out. There was still a couple of trims, but now I'm saying here, if we get a little bit of an uptick in the travel stocks, or some of them could kind of do their own thing because they faced a little bit of that pain trade with some of the Delta concerns over the last few months, I think Uber could be a good one, so I'm going to be watching them. The second play, Walmart, Burry went in big on them. They're going to have their earnings. I really think we're going to get a continuation. Even then, I believe it was last week on Friday, you had one analyst switch from a rating of sell on the stock to buy. He said that they grossly underestimated how much they could make, so we're going to find out about that tomorrow, but I would not underestimate this ability to kind of move more after hours, considering how it's moved leading into the earnings. So that's the second one, and then finally, the third play, SOXX. I don't know if I'm going to make a play on it. We still even have that old AMD credit spread, if you remember, but in general, the semiconductors are just a huge indicator right now, just because we haven't seen them cool off from last week, and that was a big move. So depending on what they do here on the second level, I think there's going to be an opportunity in the chips both directions. You are going to get Nvidia earnings this week, so depending on how that plays out, we will be able to get an idea. But either way, the chips are in a very important spot again. Even if you look fundamentally, some of their EPS have came down to the lowest level in a year, or the price to earnings ratio. So that's offering kind of a buy the dip moment for some of them, but then that's where people are also getting worried. If it falls from here, it could be interesting. So going to be watching that one coming into the rest of the plays. We talked about this one here today, but AMC, we want to watch this, but not for the reason you're thinking. Yeah, we love the hype, we love the meme stocks, but if you guys remember what we talked about literally 2 months ago, it feels like it was forever ago, but it was actually only 2 months. We still have those covered call plays. So what I'm looking for is, now the premiums are still high on AMC. Here's that covered call. We made about $3,000. Remember, we only put in about $1,500 into our whole AMC position. You see here, we got $10,000 of profit. We did a covered call and agreed to sell our shares at $70. We're able to get that premium back, but now you see what's happened. The stock is below 70. This call is going to expire, but we still own all of the shares. So a lot of people are in this situation. We even went over Lending Tips' position, and you could see, remember, a lot of you did this. We made a tutorial video on it. We said covered calls is the way to go. You could see $10,000, $7,000, and these are just covered calls, meaning you get to own and keep all of the equity there. So the idea here now coming into AMC, there's a lot of premium a couple months out. We could still get a couple $1,000. I think there's a lot of people holding. A lot of options are going to expire. If it starts to move up again, we are still able to ride the wave. So I'm going to be watching that one for sure this week. Watch OGN. This is the one that Buffett took a new stake in. I believe they're a biotech company. So very interesting considering he trimmed a lot of biotech. So watch that. Watch AMD. We still have that one position. Again, we did that premium sell. I'm back up to 62% now. Remember, we were really, really down on it at first, but now coming to August 20th, unless this thing closes at 120, we're most likely going to win. This play gave me some trauma, so we will see how it plays out tomorrow. I have $180 left that I could make off of it, so we will watch. But in general, I do want to watch the chip makers. Another crazy day. Watch UWMC. Their earnings, it was good and bad. They missed their estimates. I say it's good, kind of like Roblox or anything of that nature, where they're still beating their year-over-year numbers, and some of them, that's a very, very good sign, considering they were recovering for the most part during those moments, or at least it started. But they did miss their estimates, and they had something, I believe it was the MSR, how they valued some of the carrying values of the mortgages. That ended up hitting them. So we will see how that plays out. They did announce their dividend, and ex-dividend is on September 6th, I believe. So keep that in mind. Roblox ended up closing down. It only moved a little bit after hours. A lot of the move came in pre-market. It's back to that $75 level. We will see how the market takes it tomorrow. Tiger Global cut some of their position, but it's still one of their top 5 holdings. So we will see how that plays out. Walmart, like we discussed, I think that's going to be a good one. Then GM sold off a little bit. I want to see how Ford does as well too, but Buffett trimmed some of that stake there. They've kind of been getting clapped here. Interesting 100-day chart. You're seeing where they stand on the year, so we'll see where it goes from there, but watch them. Watch Caterpillar. I want to watch some of these infrastructure-type plays. There's some that did good, like Nucor, but then some of them are starting to give back up again, and then this is what brings me into the China stocks. I still like those K-Web plays, but they are down, believe it or not. So even though we were able to get it kind of like right here, you saw this move, the premiums are getting lower, but they are all still in play. I want to see now after the SEC comments, even the data and news today, you really saw a big slip in China. And this is kind of playing out with that theory I'm saying. It's not necessarily a cause for alarm, but you've got something to look at here. You're watching a bigger divergence get created. So if we start to sell off, we'll watch the market. There's a lot going on where we could actually ignore it. So depending on how that plays out, it could create another opportunity. So watch out for that. Then coming into the chips again, Nvidia, they're going to report this week. I want to see. I haven't looked at the premium, but they're coming off post-split. They're at that key $200 level. We will see what happens. Disney, I think Dan Loeb and Third Point cut their stake in them. So that one was interesting. Totally failed continuation. Kind of disappointed by that one, but if it does fail and start to go here, that could quickly switch it to a negative position. And you even got some funds exiting, or I think it was just Melvin Capital. They exited their whole entire Netflix position. Melvin, come on, Melvin. But watch them. And then finally, DraftKings, I've been liking it. Kind of underperformed today. You saw it got some steam and then gave back up, but with some of the investing in sports betting, Jay-Z, all of that stuff, I want to see how it plays out, not to mention some of the approval news that they've been feeding off of the last few weeks. And then finally, young TLT, baby. So it went up a lot today. It was getting very, very excited. Thankfully, it came down with this move, but we are definitely not in a safe spot just yet. Again, if you see what we saw today, if that velocity kept continuing, that would have been bad. But I also think we're going to see a lot here with the dollar. You're watching big bets made. You have a lot of people positioned neutral on the bonds, bullish on the dollar. So depending on how the rest of the weeks unfold leading into September, we will see what happens. But I want to wait for the no-brainer. But every single one of our indicators is in an elevated position, and so is the market, and that's what makes it tricky here. But do not lose focus of this and understand velocity will tell us something. If we get a clean break in one area and everything else stays up here, it will be a very, very easy signal to go off of. We just need patience and can't get too jumpy, so I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shine. I need you to ask yourself, are you listening to it now or in the background? But the Cole loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.